What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Jim Carrey Project. This is the project where we are going through Jim Carrey's movies from start to finish, at least from the beginning of his career till present day. I am your host, Ryan Kondrach, and with me, as always, is my good friend,
Carrie Grant.
Here she is right here. And today we watched Peggy Sue Got Married. It is a 1986 release. And it's directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Was produced by Paul Gurian, written by Larry Lichtling and Arlene Sammer. Stars Kathleen Turner, Nicolas Cage, Barry Miller, and Catherine Hicks. But then also Jim Carrey's in there too. So depending on where you look, you will see different stars listed in different orders. So on Amazon, it says he's number 3 cast, and then on IMDb and on everything else, he's a little bit not even mentioned.
Right.
It had a budget of $18 million. Was released on October 10th, 1986. Had a budget of $18 million, and then made a box office of $41.4 million. So not a bad little take for Peggy Sue Got Married. Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What'd you think?
I liked it. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. It's funny. Did you search for Jim Carrey, or did you just pull up Peggy Sue Got Married?
I just pulled up Peggy Sue Got Married on this
So
one.
obviously they just decided to add Jim Carrey's name as one of the lead actors, even though really he wasn't.
Yeah. In doing the research, and we've seen it before with some of these older movies, that doing the research, everything gets completely changed after Jim Carrey becomes famous in Ace Ventura and The Mask and things. And I don't know if this is one of the ones that they decided to add him listed in here, but it probably does make a big difference on finding a movie like this. Oh, it's a Jim Carrey movie.
He's probably the third. I mean, obviously Kathleen Turner and Nicolas Cage were the two main characters, and who are still in our big names. So he'd probably be the most well known after those two, don't you think, in the movie?
I think
so. It kind of makes sense to throw his name in there as well, even though he had a smaller part than several other people.
Yeah,
probably.
he was very much Jim Carrey character of this movie, but natural. But it was fun. It was a fun movie. The other one lady that we were talking about was Joan Allen, where we're like, we both know her from somewhere. But I think you're right that was really the only other person that Sofia Coppola.
Yeah.
She's in this one as the teenager.
Yeah.
It's like, she certainly has made a name for herself outside of this.
Yes.
I thought this was a really fun movie, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll get to Jim Carrey's part about it.
Okay.
I did not realize that this was directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
Until I did a little bit more research on it today, and it's like this was his first. What the research was saying, that it was one of his first major movies that he had done. But it was his first real box office success since Apocalypse Now. Oh. Which was he'd done some other stuff between them. But this is the one that was and so it's amazing to see. You can see some really good directed moments in here of this is definitely a high quality film director is doing it. So.
Yeah. I guess we always end up talking about the cinematography or different things about it because you notice it because it's weird. Yeah. I've never even thought about it because the movie just flows so well. You don't say oh that's weird or bugs you.
That's a weird shot.
Yeah, it's done so well. You just sort of take that for granted and just take it all in and are only thinking about the story, not the other aspects of filmmaking.
Yeah, but now that we're
so good for him. Yeah. He did a good job.
We have for those of you who don't know who've been tuning in, we just did a little 8-minute film recently. So trying to pay attention to cinematography is a little bit different now that we've seen our stuff on screen and seen other things. But that's a whole other thing. That'll be posted on YouTube.
Editing will open your eyes to all kinds of things.
All sorts of stuff. So what's real funny, I thought was really neat about this movie was for, what is her name? Turner was actually nominated for 3 Academy Awards.
For this particular movie?
Yeah, or this movie was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. Best Actress was Turner. Okay. And then it had Best Cinematography and Best Costume Design
I could see that.
For the awards. I don't know which one, if it won any of them, but it definitely was.
Well, it's kind of a fun concept in the 80s of going back to the 60s. So we kind of talked about obviously Back to the Future was the other one that sort of did that, and this sort of had that same feel. And I just think there was just a lot of nostalgia for that time period, and people still really like the cars and the clothes, and the music is still like, I mean, I still listen to 60s music.
There's an innocence about the 60s that definitely disappears into the 70s and 80s, and it's like, especially in the 80s, when, of course, we talked about this before going through these movies, just cocaine and drugs and women and loose people and AIDS and all sorts of things happening in here. But so going back and being like, let's relive some of these 60s, and it was fun. It's like the cars are gorgeous, the costumes are amazing.
There's some sweetness to it still, like even about, you know, they talked about the virginity with the high school couples and stuff like that, and I don't know, it just kind of, I mean, she was different because she came back and she was sort of an adult, which did it ever cross your mind, like, she is like an adult, like theoretically, I guess, in 40s, but she's like really easily sleeping with these high school boys. I know it was her husband, but like, it did cross my mind as like, that seems a little odd, because her mind is still like,
she has all her memories, she has all the experiences,
she misses her kids, like, she's not like suddenly in the mind of a 18-year-old, she's still in the mind of a 40-year-old, but then, you know, she wants to still sleep with the guy she didn't get to sleep with in high school.
She's taking advantage of a situation where and it's a what is it? Quantum leap situation where to them she looks like young 18-year-old Peggy Sue. To us, we see her as the real character, as her being in this was the 25th high school reunion. So I mean, if she graduated 18, gets pregnant 18, then she's 43 on that one. So I mean, she's not old by any means, but it's definitely not like she was still very attractive 43-year-old, still a very attractive lady.
Well, you know, once I realized that they were all like playing the same people, because it opens with them at the reunion in the 80s, 85 I think it said, and then flashback. And the first thing I was like, well, okay, how old are these people in real life, and who are they playing? And we were like, Jim Carrey's got to be in his like early 20s or mid 20s. He
was late 20s. I think he was 28 is how old he actually was in this movie.
So, but I guess what they probably did is they're looking for people in the middle. So they're looking for a 30-year-old who could maybe play up to 40, but also play down to 18. You know, and that's tricky to do. I think they actually did a pretty good job. It didn't. Once I kind of got my head around it, didn't bug me that much. Yeah. Like, I was like, okay.
No, I think the most interesting thing about it and, like, that whole concept is that in the beginning of the high school reunion, you're like, everyone looks like they're in bad age makeup. You know? It's like...
They didn't do that much makeup, though.
It didn't seem like they did, but
Carrie put on a pair of glasses, and then he's 40.
The rich, smart guy that... becomes famous or whatever, had on a mustache, fake mustache, glasses, a little bit of gray. Like the jock that was a jerk to the smart guy definitely had on a lot more gray and stuff. But like you said, Jim Carrey, how are we gonna make him look old? Glasses and a haircut.
But I think his hair was about the same.
It was the exact same thing.
It was just really short, kind of. Yeah.
He was funny. I really liked his character in this one. It was the goofy high school kid, and we've seen him play this kind of roles a bunch right now. You know, he's kind of he wasn't really a dimwit in this one. He had a lot going for him. He was just the silly comic relief friend of the group.
That's totally what he was.
Which is hard to see because you look at Nicolas Cage and his character choices in this movie, and you're like, you're the bumbling idiot kind of comic relief, but that's just the character he chose. And it was
the direction
he got. I did not realize going into this either that Nicolas Cage is the nephew to Francis Coppola.
That's right. I knew that.
And it was like, oh, is he in there and he's allowed to get away with these terrible choices, or is it just like?
Or is that the direction he's got? Yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
I don't know. It seems knowing what I knew going into it, apparently Nicolas Cage would get very drunk and show up and film. The nasally thing that you commented on, like,
was driving me insane.
Supposedly, him and Turner, got into Kathleen Turner apparently got into fights about it.
About the nasally sound.
Like, she couldn't go to him and be like, "Quit doing this as an actor." So she went to Coppola and was like, "Can you have him stop doing this, please?" And then he was also wearing fake teeth for the whole time in that one. So he really made this strong, bold choice to be as dislikable almost as possible from the get-go of this movie, and like to make him this skis ball of like, but then also somehow he becomes totally endearing at the end of it.
Oh, it's so confusing, and honestly, the whole time I didn't really know how it was going to end. Like now that I know that they did get back to, they're getting back together or whatever it is.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
Oops.
It's an 80s movie.
All right, if you haven't seen
I can't worry about that now.
The statute of limitations on spoilers is over at this point.
Looking back, I should have realized it's an 80s movie. They probably are going to get back together. But honestly, it didn't lead to that until toward the very end. Yeah. And you're right, like he started to get more. There was moments of endearingness, and then she was like, "Well, I don't know if I believe it or not. Or I don't know if you're playing me or not." And
she knows the future.
But it was hard to tell. Well, and I will say, I think that's probably good filmmaking. Is it's hard to tell. Yeah. It wasn't always clear.
Yeah, we know in most movies that there's time travel, that we're going to get back to the start and be better off than we were at the end. I don't know if their relationship, like at the end, they did have this moment in the hospital with the daughter and Helen Hunt as the other. How did I completely forget that she's
probably just as big of a name. I think
she should have been listed on Star and As, but
although she was only in the beginning of it too. But
but like Peggy Sue obviously wants to try and be with him again with Nicolas Cage's character at the end, but she also says, "I just need some time." So there's still the up in the air possibility that she's made this decision to be like.
They didn't imply.
Yeah, they did imply.
Try, though.
Hopefully they get it together.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, his character was really annoying. Like that nasally, and you know what? He is kind of nasally anyway. If you think about the movies, you know, has a more mature voice, and then like Con Air or whatever else you've seen him in over the years, you know. Yeah. But he is
Face Off.
If you think about it, he is still nasally. So maybe it's just naturally he's a little bit nasally, and then maybe he was just
double down,
excited and couldn't help but really put it in there. I don't know. I mean, I think. You know, the acting choices is for him, you know.
He was young.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know if they were directed in or he was trying things and they're like, yeah, go ahead, just do it or whatever. But, I mean, I like going back to Jim Carrey. I mean, I thought he wasn't annoying or, I guess, rude. I kept thinking he might be the rude friend, too, who, like, makes fun of people too much. But it
Jim
really...
Carrey's character?
Yeah, but they really didn't. Like, he was just silly.
Yeah.
And people actually did like him. Like, I thought maybe there was more to his character than that. Like he made fun of people and people hated him, but no, he was just silly.
He was probably one of the most sincere characters in the movie, starting even at the beginning with him at the high school reunion. He's the one that's making the silly jokes about, we need a prom queen. It's like, it's like, oh, Jim Carrey, you're so silly. But we see his character basically be the same throughout the whole movie, which is awesome that like he was able to do that, and there was no like he wasn't a big enough role or like character to make it where it would have been weird as a high school kid. Yeah. But it was fun.
There wasn't a lot of character development for him, but you know, they wanted a funny friend, and they got a funny friend, and so he
got the weird arm thing.
Did the arm thing. He did like the throw up thing that he does, and like a couple other little Jim Carrey things.
He was very good comedic relief in these moments.
Yeah, especially when you like
Excuse me for a second. We see the beginning phases of his Dumb and Dumber character.
Yeah, totally. And it kind of just makes you happy. I mean, for me too, because we know him, and you know his. What he is now and stuff, and so when I was annoyed with Nicolas Cage, then I was like, "Oh, Jim Carrey, you're funny. Thank you for throwing that in there. That makes me a little happier.
Makes it a little better." Singing. They had a barbershop quartet in there. Question is, and I couldn't find it. Who was singing? Yeah. If that was really their voices while they were singing on that point or not.
Well, and back then, you know, now they can do so much with like sound. Like you can be a really bad singer.
You can auto-tune the hell
out
of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't know if they had as much back then. They probably had some things, but maybe not as much.
Was it just them lip syncing to something else?
Could be.
To actually another
Didn't
group?
hear the nasally that much.
No, not when you were singing. Which you would think that even if you're singing, you would have that kind of voice.
Because Nicolas Cage was the main singer, so you heard him more than the others.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Jim Carrey. I hope it was Jim Carrey singing, because he had some fun little doo-wop parts in there. It was like,
he was cute.
He was a very cute
I love that he I think he again, he just finds his moments, and I think he takes them when he films. Like, I doubt he ever got direction for like something like, I mean, that was just a little thing. It was like during the doo-wop song, and there was a little part where he did it, and he just, I mean, it was cute. It was just like, do. And I'm like, he just must make those choices, and they're like, yeah, you're good. I mean, that's why he's good, because he's not scared to, make choices and just go for it, and then either be pulled back, which I'm sure happens to him sometimes, especially in movies where he's not like as crazy. Bring it down a bit, Jim. Like,
don't take away from the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's there.
Good for trying it.
You knew he was there. You knew he was there in every scene because he made an obvious, like, bold choice of how he was gonna flirt at lunchtime, and like the kind of relationship he had with his girlfriend at the time. His name was Walter or something?
His was Walter, yes.
I mean, that carried throughout the film. It was like, he definitely felt like he was 100% in love with his high school girlfriend.
They were all couples.
They were all real cute. And then, like, the part after the doo-wop song when they're singing in the club, like, the line that he says is like, oh, just turn off the lights and get some make-out music going on. Like, that felt 100% true and authentic to, like, a high school. Like, we're having fun. It's like, we're here without adult supervision. We're teenagers. All we were going to do is mug down and, like, start making out.
Totally.
Dropping over when he grabs his girlfriend, and, like, they fall over the thing. It's like, that to me looks like something I would do as a person. And when I think I've done that in high school.
I'm sure you
like,
have.
Let's be silly.
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, the most romantic things are also sometimes the silliest.
Totally.
It's that kind of intimacy.
Absolutely.
And I think he nailed it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see, like, what happens with him and their characters. Like, because they talk about getting married and having barbecues, and, like, Peggy Sue and her friends are like, you're supposed to marry him.
So do you remember at the beginning that Jim Carrey was doing lines with his girlfriend?
Oh, they were doing
they were doing coke.
Oh, yeah.
And then she came back to Peggy Sue and said, hey, I think he said, like, he's still a good dancer or something like that. I think she was talking about, and then she goes, well, yeah, he was your first boyfriend. Yeah. So I think there was implications that they obviously weren't together anymore, but that they might be. And then was the other couple actually together? The girl that said that, Joan Allen's character?
Yeah, Joan Allen's character.
They actually were together, I think.
Yeah, they were getting interviewed, and they had stayed married.
That's right.
For like the longest of everyone. It was like, how's it feel to miss the sexual revolution?
And she gets back.
Like, yeah. I think it's so funny that Joan Allen nailed this part, and we won't see her again, and I don't know what else she's been in between this and whatever, but, like, they obviously chose her very well in Pleasantville when she plays the mother of the 1950s kids.
Oh yeah, totally. I've seen her in something recently too. Like, her face is, like, etched in my head, but I cannot think of what it's in.
She's there. I actually have her IMDb pulled up right here. I mean, she's so very, very attractive, very pretty. She's in TV shows, pre-production stuff.
She's busy. She's definitely still working.
Yeah. The Rick over, the birth of nuclear power. I don't know, the killing. Lots of TV. That. Oh, Bourne Legacy. She was in the Bourne movies, or at least one of them. Death Race, Bonneville. Yeah, so she was. That's who she is. Pamela Landry in the Bourne movies. She was, like, one of the people in charge of trying to get Jason Bourne back into custody and be like, oh, yeah. So she's definitely had a couple of, she was also in Face Off, another Nicolas Cage movie.
I think that's it. Oh, so they've been buddies for a while, probably.
They've known each other for a while.
It was kind of cute, like,
The Notebook.
That's what it is.
She was in the Notebook. Of course, it's the Notebook. No, it wasn't Face Off. The one that's where John Travolta.
Well, the Notebook is the one that if it's on TV, sometimes I'll watch a few minutes of it. Okay, shut up.
She the mother or something in there.
She's the mom.
Yeah, Anne Hamilton.
Rachel McAdams.
It's the Notebook. Of course. Of course it is.
Shut up.
Oh, I'm just saying.
I love the Notebook.
I'm just saying. Everyone loves the Notebook. Ryan Gosling is handsome, and Rachel McAdams is beautiful, and their love story is
James Marsden.
Who's James?
He's the other guy.
The other character.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
We'll talk about the next project is the Joan Allen project. And we'll start going into that.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Let's deep dive into something else, some random actress we find on here. Oh my god, I almost choked on something.
Silly. No, I mean, even I said this in some of the other movies, but I did like the sweetness of the whole thing. Like we talked about even like the reunion, how, you know, they were obviously divorced, but everyone's like, you know, oh, are they coming or not? And then some of the couples were still together. Other ones were still like, they're all happy to see each other. And then it goes back to the sweetness of the 60s. And there was really still no, like, there was a little bit of bullying, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, the way
like, not like we see now. Like, Four Eyes to the smart guy and stuff. But, like, you know, it wasn't, like, too cruel or mean or anything.
No, I think that was a really good choice that they made, both as the writers and as the director, to be like, at the high school reunion, that jerk always called me Four Eyes and blah, 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 blah. But then we just get that sweet moment back in high school where Peggy Sue decides to befriend the smart nerd guy and tells the other guy to just F off, basically. It's like, get lost.
There's not really a bad guy in this one, is there?
No,
I mean, because Nicolas Cage you're kind of like, well, I don't know. But there's, you know, like even if you compare it to Back to the Future, which kind of naturally... lends itself to
Biff
that.
is the
bad guy. There's a bad guy. There's not really a bad guy in this.
No.
It's really, and you know what I like too is like, I mean, it's really Peggy Sue's, you know,
conscience.
Story. Yeah, I mean, it's all about. I mean, it's female based. I like that, and like, I don't know, it just shows all the nuances and you know what you would feel like as an adult woman being divorced and with kids, and then going back to high school, even like when she sat down and she's like, oh my god, there's a test. Yeah. Like I still have this recurring dream of being in high school, and I have forgotten to go to my science class for like months, and I'm gonna I'm not gonna graduate, and it just like it almost made me feel sick when I saw her like
in that moment.
Yeah, because I still feel like I have those feelings, because I wake up and I'm like, wait, I'm an adult. I'm it doesn't matter if I didn't go to science class, you know, but I don't know, like I just love that it was based around her story.
I feel like her consciousness and her just choices are the bad guys, because she's putting all the pressure on herself to like, do I have to relive this? Do I want to relive this?
What choices
do I want to run away with this guy and realize that he wants to be a polygamist? It's like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I can't marry this guy because it's the Peggy Sue got married. It all ends up with her getting married at 18 and living this life. Whether she makes the choice to be with Nicolas Cage's character or the smart guy or whatever guy, everyone wanted to get married so soon. It's like, that's not what she wanted. But now she got to spend time with her grandparents and see them be married forever and sweet, kind of misses it. And then it's like, okay, well, I guess
I agree.
I'll make these choices and go down that path and get married again.
Well, and then in the end, I mean, she wakes up and she
needs some time.
She has been married. They have been divorced. She still has the kids. So no matter what choices, I mean, it didn't imply that whether she did or, I mean, it implied that she still followed through with what she did originally, because the time didn't change. The future was still the same.
Her boyfriend, whatever Nicolas Cage's character was, I can't remember often, was still there and part of her life. So she got Charlie. That's what. Got it.
Okay, but let's just talk about the the weird grandparents.
Yeah, I know. Where did that come from? We were both sitting here, and she's on the bus to go visit her grandparents, and we're both sitting here just like,
okay,
they could wrap that up a little bit.
I think they got to page 75 of the script, and they're like, oh,
shit. We gotta do something
How do we get her back?
Ooh,
Let's get to the weird lodge, the Buffalo Lodge or whatever that Grandpa is in.
There was just no leading up to that. There was no allusion to maybe how she would get back. And then suddenly she was
gonna die. She was gonna somehow die, and something was gonna happen.
Don't movies now usually give you there's a clue or something? There was no clues to me on that one at all.
Weird ass grandparents.
So suddenly she's telling people, I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. I'm not gonna be here for my birthday, but we still don't know where she's going. And then suddenly she's like, okay, I'm gonna go see my grandparents. Okay, well she had said before that she missed them, so that makes sense. I didn't know they lived so far away or whatever. She takes a bus and goes out there, has a nice evening with them the next morning. Or that night. It's the same night, I guess. She's like
her
off.
Birthday.
No, it was the next day.
She gets there, then it's her birthday the next day, and
they
go to the meeting.
And then suddenly she's off to the lodge meeting with her grandpa to send her back home. Because that's what they do. Is
founded by time
travel. girl. Oh my gosh.
Her grandmother's even a little weirdo about
kind of knows
her own life or where she's gonna die and how she's gonna die.
That was interesting.
It was just it was unexpected twist and a good way to get the heck out of the place we were stuck in.
I guess so.
Oh man.
Yeah, they could have gone a little earlier.
Yeah.
And cut out
so this was originally gonna star Deborah Winger and be directed by Jonathan Demme, but then there were a bunch of creative differences between the writers, and then the Winger quit because it was loyalty to Marshall, and then the production company was like, "Hey, Francis Ford Coppola, you can do this," in order to entice the other director back, and they're like, "Nah, all right, we'll switch it all up. Kathleen Turner, you're the star. Switch it up, get it around."
So now, who are the writers?
It is who was Andy Leichtling and Arlene Sarner. I think they were married.
Okay.
Or at least they were
maybe a couple or something.
Of writers, yeah.
Okay. So they wrote.
It holds.
They wrote this and sold it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It's,
they must have had some say. I don't know if you get as much say nowadays, but if you're the writer, but like back then maybe you still could like
be a part of it and like help through the whole process of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what their creative differences. Like, why do we want to have a weird, like, someone probably wanted, to make it more of a situation where there were clearly bad guys or there were clearly like the choices we make time traveling really affect the future, but it was like, no, we don't.
No.
Or maybe it was just the scene with the grandparents, the weird lodge. It was like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
There definitely could be, like if you want to read too much into this, there's holes and what about this and what about that? But you sort of take it as it is. It's a good story. It made sense. I thought Kathleen Turner did a great job in her. She was a strong actress. Yeah, she made good choices, and again, I think maybe there was just some parts that were repetitive, and some kind of saw her do some of the same things a few times. But I don't think that's her fault. That's just what her story was. Crush
on one high school guy, and then get interested in another one, and then bounce around between.
That could be a little annoying. You almost would think 43-year-old would have it. I don't know, more clear, but I think because she went through the divorce, and she's still like recovering from that. Maybe it's still kind of fresh for her.
How long was the divorce before the reception or before the?
It didn't feel very long.
It felt like it was pretty fresh on that one. It's funny that she talks about the algebra test, where she's like, "I will never use algebra ever again in my life."
Yeah.
And then the argument that she has with Charlie, that kind of like, besides the affair and stuff, she makes jokes about. Why did y'all break up? It was like, we got to do a fight over house payments. I was like, wait a minute. If you would have had algebra, you wouldn't have gotten into this fight about house payments.
I wonder if they even
put those two together, like when they were writing it.
Funny. Funny.
They knew what it was. They knew exactly what it was. Yeah. So Peggy Sue Got Married has a positive reaction from critics and holds an 85% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't have it pulled up on IMDb anymore. I moved over to that one. There it is. Because I was looking for Joan Allen. But on IMDb, it has a 6.3 stars out of 10. So it's got a C to a B plus kind of rating right here. So what do you think about Peggy Sue Got Married? What would you say your rating was on a 1 to 10 scale?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
Like I would. This is the first movie that we've seen that I think I would just watch on my own again.
Yeah.
Just because.
It was cute.
I enjoyed it.
It was fun.
I'd say 9.
We don't worry about the time travel paradoxes.
No,
we don't have to worry about that.
It's kind of like Back to the Future or even like Dirty Dancing's kind of set. Like you could watch those over and over again. I have that same feeling with this one. I could watch it a few times and still enjoy it and pick out new things. And,
it was cute. It was very cute. What's good is that the theatrical release poster has the same thing that's on the Amazon poster. They've made some adjustments where they've added in
a couple of pictures.
Jim Carrey, Nicolas Cage, and I can't.
Helen Hunt.
Is that Helen Hunt on the front?
I think it's Helen Hunt.
So they didn't quite change the branding of it, but they definitely added a few things because it's like Peggy Sue Got Married, and it has the tagline on there.
Right.
It's a really cute photo of her with the key that doesn't make any sense. She didn't have a key anywhere in the movie.
No.
or she had
What's
something.
in her hand?
It's a key.
Oh.
It's a key to the door.
And then she's in
lock
the lock.
that she's looking through. So
yeah, that's a weird reference, but okay.
Anyway, so you gave it a 9. That's a pretty
I liked
good.
It.
I mean, it was very well directed. It was beautifully shot. I think that was Coppola did a great job on it. Kathleen Turner, I only remember her as. I remember the first time I saw her as Romancing the Stone when I was a kid,
right.
And then I didn't realize she was also the voice of Jessica Rabbit, which is one of Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
right.
which is also one of my other favorite movies of all time.
Oh.
So I'll give it. I'll follow in the footsteps of most of the people who were probably rating it. Give it an 85 or an 8.5 out of 10. I think it dragged on a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought everyone was a great actor. Jim Carrey's performances was 100% sincere, and I really enjoyed seeing that. Nicolas Cage gave me the heebie-jeebies.
But that's kind of what he does. That's his thing.
I think that was his thing. Is he just was trying to be a little bit cringy, a little bit weird in this one.
How often is he endearing in movies?
There's
parts of it that it is, but you're never like.
And Con Air was pretty endearing. The Magician's Apprentice, I think, was a pretty endearing one, but that was also a Disney thing. He's done a lot.
He's also the voice of the Croods. We watch the Croods a lot in my house.
He's done a lot of movies. I think.
Yeah. But he does play creepy well. Yeah. So the fact that he was a little like it was. You just couldn't figure him out. Yeah. I don't think was odd. No, now that we know him,
pretty straightforward.
Maybe that's where he got it from. That's probably one of his earlier pieces
I
too.
I definitely think it is one of his earliest.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what they said or his for his character.
We can do a Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, we can go mess with that one on that one. Yeah, apparently there was some beef between them where she said that he got so drunk that he had driven and then stolen a chihuahua. But then he ended up suing her, and she had to make a public apology and donate a bunch of money to
that makes him sound like a horrible guy.
I know. I think he was probably young and new in the scene, so he was just my uncle is Francis Coppola. I can get away with what I want to get away with. Because I mean, he would have been in his mid to late 20s, just like everybody else at this point. Like, probably. That was the thing in the 80s in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like, be the bad boy of like the film industry and baloney like that.
I'm sure he's grown out of it.
Yeah, I hopefully he has. So.
We want to steal a chihuahua.
I know. It was a cute chihuahua. Maybe it was a cute chihuahua.
I mean, if I was drunk on the street and saw a cute chihuahua, I might pick it up too. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows what you would do? Look at that thing. I'm gonna get it. Chihuahuas. Chihuahuas are so gross. Chihuahuas are so gross.
But they're tiny. That makes them cute.
I know.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that was about it for this. I think we'll wrap it up on that one. I think hopefully it's a good amount of time.
Yeah.
You can fast forward if you thought it was too long or too short, but whatever. No, so this was Peggy Sue Got Married. Next time we watch The Deadpool, which is Clint Eastwood. I don't know how much Jim Carrey is actually in it. It's 1988, but we're getting into some big movies and big names all of a sudden, and then we're gonna mess around with it. So I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching the Jim Carrey Project. I'm Brian Kondrach.
I'm Carrie.
Yeah, and special thanks to Corbin Russell for doing our sound again today. We cannot do this without him. And thanks to Luke Brewer for the logo that we have. I don't think I ever thank him enough for it. He's a cool guy, and he's looking for work as a graphic designer. So if you know anyone who needs one, check it out. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.